The sheer numbers of individuals who are beginning to pay attention is encouraging, and although the interpretation of events may vary, it provides an avenue for a constructive discussion among those who frequent the Skywatch Media channel and our social media sites. The events happening at this time provide a universal awakening to those who have sat idly by, refusing to acknowledge what their own eyes have shown them. It is the beginning of a great transformation, the same transformation spoken of by ancient civilizations in their texts and in their inscriptions portraying the events of their time. If you remember, I indicated that the best way to determine if something is approaching us is to carefully observe the changes in the weather, the intensity and frequency of seismic activity, and the severity of volcanic eruptions. All of these are signs given to us that provide insight into what is happening to our planet, and they can also signify what is likely happening to the other planets within our solar system. These are the signs that will usher in the beginning of the period of tribulation. 2017 has so far proven to be a year that will dramatically change our concept of life and the frailty of human existence on the planet that we call home. The climate is changing in ways that even scientists do not fully understand. If you look at what is happening with the weather in various parts of the world, it certainly looks like its implications are very disturbing. These unprecedented weather events indicate that something yet unexplained is happening in our atmosphere and with our jet stream. The constant unpredictability of our weather patterns would suggest that the Earth's axis is shifting in such a way that we may soon encounter a magnetic pole shift, which scientists admit is a very real probability. But it appears that there is much more to this story than what is being told. There are indications that the Earth's crust is also slipping, with dramatic changes occurring to the ice shelf on the Antarctic continent. On January 22nd, a massive earthquake shook near New Guinea, with preliminary measurements of 8.4 by the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which were later downgraded by the USGS to 8.0. An earthquake of this intensity should warrant major media headlines, but like other recent events of this nature, very little significant information has been forthcoming from the major news outlets by those who control mainstream media. If someone proclaims that they saw something very strange in the sky, then it makes no sense to tell them there is nothing to see or that it doesn't exist. This is a tactical maneuver to keep the public from learning the truth. It's called the power of persuasion. So when you are told by skeptics that your image or your video is ludicrous or fabricated, remember the simple rules of observation. Not all eyewitness sightings are mere apparitions or an imaginary presence, and not all photographs or video footage is merely showing a reflection, a lens flare, or a false impression. There are many mysteries on this planet and across our universe that cannot be explained in scientific terms because they defy the explanation of science. Even the power of persuasion cannot outmaneuver the power that has been manifest in the heavens. It's a power that is being felt across the planet, as evident by the disturbing events that are taking place worldwide. The visibility of Nibiru and the Nemesis binary system has increased dramatically just in the past few years. It has increased in size, which indicates it is getting closer, and it is now changing the dynamics of our atmosphere and has altered the magnetic field that surrounds our planet. As you can imagine, the gravitational effects of a sizable planet moving closer to the inner solar system would spell big trouble for planet Earth. We are now witnessing the are reshaping this planet. As the magnetic core heats up and the Earth's orbit slows down, thus creating a blending of our seasons. As you continue to discover the wonders and mysteries that are there for you to see, keep in mind that it is NASA themselves who have continuously discovered something new in the universe that was previously unthinkable. It was just recently that they found a binary solar system. It is this discovery that could very well explain the Earth's wobble, which is still a scientific mystery waiting to be resolved. We also know that astronomers say a Neptune-sized planet lurks beyond Pluto. Therefore, we should keep an eye out for a blue star that will appear in the sky. As it turns out, a number of skywatchers have already seen this star and have recorded its presence. Consider this. 7,200 years ago, during the cataclysm known as Noah's Flood, storms and water avalanches from Antarctica broke off from their ice prison. Dr. John T. Holen at Maine University considers that large pieces periodically came out of the Antarctic ice field, creating a huge tide. Does the sudden collapse of the Antarctic ice sheet, which is showing signs of happening at this time, give credence to this educator's hypothesis? 3,600 years ago, during the Jews' exodus from Egypt in the middle of the second millennium BC, the earth suffered big cataclysms. According to Immanuel Velikovsky's Worlds in Collision, a celestial body that recently entered our solar system, a new comet, came very close to Earth, causing the eventual disappearance of the glacier layer. Our years of research and observation indicates that something is in the process of changing the very makeup of our solar system and affecting the orbit of the planets, which thus creating atmospheric changes, which lead to more earthquakes, more volcanic eruptions, and more extreme weather events. The effects of its passover will be long-lasting and will change the very fabric of our civilization going forward. This is the long-term analysis of what can be expected to occur as the binary star system continues its extended journey across our solar system. There is also the concern of what can happen in the short term as the Nibiru Nemesis debris field expands, carrying with it enormous asteroids and comet fragments that have the potential to be catastrophic if they impact the Earth. In the waning days of President Obama's administration, the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy released a National Near-Earth Object Preparedness Strategy. The strategy outlines major goals the country will have to take to prepare to meet the NEO threat. Most of us remember movies such as Deep Impact and Armageddon. They attempted to depict what such a crisis would look like. But until fairly recently, the U.S. government never seemed to take this kind of threat very seriously and has taken a series of measures over the past couple of years to help prepare us for incoming meteors and asteroids. In 2016, they founded a Planetary Defense Coordination Office to detect potentially destructive NEOs. Immediately thereafter, they coordinated with FEMA to begin preparedness drills for such an event. In addition, they launched spacecraft to gather asteroid information. In the typical response to the announcement of a new asteroid agency, NASA insists there is no imminent danger to our planet. But if we are to believe their analysis of the dangers that we face, then why spend so much time and resources on a non-existent crisis? I have listed here the 7-point plan that has been implemented in our defense of potential NEOs. There was also a link provided that had outlined the 25-page document recently released by the White House, which I've shown here. But unfortunately, that web page has apparently been removed and is no longer available. We do know, however, that the document was put together by the Interagency Working Group for Detecting and Mitigating the Impact of Earthbound Near-Earth Objects. Just recently, a very large asteroid barely missed us, and we had only discovered it 2 days earlier. Early in the morning, while most of us were preparing our day's activities, a space rock as big as a 10-story building slipped past Earth. The asteroid, dubbed 2017 AG-13, was discovered only 2 days earlier by the University of Arizona's Catalina Sky Survey. This according to an email from SLU, a company that broadcasts live views of space. We were very fortunate this time, but the truth is that our planet is now crossing paths with other giant space rocks on a frequent basis. In fact, a near-Earth object that is being called a cross between an asteroid and a comet was detected by NASA in late November of 2016 and has left scientists scratching their heads. They have described the celestial rock as a cross between an asteroid and a comet. It's in the middle of its 4.9-year orbit between Jupiter and Earth and will approach us on February 25th, flying by at a distance of 32 million miles from our planet, this according to NASA. Here is the stumbling block when it comes to believing and accepting what we are being told by space professionals. It is a flip of the coin on who is telling the truth. Many space scientists assure us that a large meteor or asteroid will at some point in time impact the Earth. It cannot be avoided. Contrary to their statements, NASA assures us that there is nothing to worry about. But apparently their statements lack reassurance, as others are concerned that something may be coming toward us or that we are moving toward something. Their concerns are well noted. If we accept our instincts and observations of a sky that appears to be folding, bringing the planets in the constellations of our solar system ever closer to one another, this is a troubling concept of reality, but it now appears to be happening. What we must remember if we truly desire to grasp what is happening is that we are a mere speck of dirt moving at incredible speed through a massive galaxy of time and space, which further extends into an endless and ever-changing universe. The world was created for our benefit, as a place of protection by a higher entity. But we were given the responsibility of being good stewards of the earth. But in our quest for riches and material well-being, we have
in the Pole Shift Facebook group explaining why it is that Planet X is always seen close into the sun. We had a new view of Planet X. I got this off of Pole Shift Ning. Here you can see the little lump on the side there, the classic angle, classic location. These are lens flares here. So as you can see, again, it's showing up close into the sun. So I want to explain why it is that Planet X does this. Let's start with an overview of the orbit of Planet X. Now, this is wrong. Nibiru, or Planet X, does not orbit in an elliptical fashion. So this is a fallacy. It orbits like this. We'll start here at 2002 when it entered our solar system. Creeped around the sun. Now I'm using Zeta Talk as a backup. I always use Zeta Talk Science as a backup. And of course, this is done in 2013. As you can see here, Planet X has been creeping through the solar system since 2003. And so what happens is when Planet X is finally released from its from the ecliptic zone, where there's a great deal of energy flows happening there, it quickly goes past Earth, causes a a magnetic lock-on to Earth and passes by quite quickly, and Earth follows at the crust and then lets go, and then the crust is at a different location, but the oceans keep going, which is why you have the pole shift wave danger, which is why you have to be on it's safe from the sea. But that's another video report. So Planet X carries on out into space, and it comes back. They say, I think it's 7 years later. On the light blue line is a return path, and it goes around the other side of the sun, and then it whips out. It goes back to the sun's binary twin, which is here. It's a dark star, a dead sun. 68 trillion miles, and obviously it goes around it like so, and then it starts the cycle over again on the incoming in the blue. In the center area here is a gravity balance between the sun and its binary twin. So Planet X slows down dramatically here and may spend maybe 500,000 years dithering here, moving very slowly. And it's only until it gets close to one of its gravity foci, such as our sun or the binary twin, it speeds up. It goes very fast. I remember reading in Zeta Talk that it approaches the speed of light. So that's the orbit, and they call it a sling orbit. Now let's look at what Planet X is up against in our solar system. Now this is obviously only what I'm aware of and what I've read. Now we're going to move over to here, and we're going to switch gears here. This is a profile of the Sun, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto. So basically, this right here, this arc, is the outer edge of our solar system, defined by the Sun's extent of solar wind reach. It stops here, and then outside of this you have the interstellar space, which is a whole other ball game. So we're in the bubble here, this big bubble. Now this distance here is about 9.3 billion miles. As an example how big that is, Pioneer 2 was launched in 1977, and it traveled at 55,000 kilometers an hour, and it took over 38 years at that speed to clear the sun's heliosphere, or the bubble. So that's how big it is. Now here we have another representation of what I'm saying. This is the heliosphere here. So the sun is emitting massive particles called solar wind, or cosmic radiation, cosmic wind, and it blows it out to its extent, to the farthest extent it can. Now what happens is this entire mass of area here is full of atomic particles and circulating, and near the sun they recirculate. Now there's another one. There's another. You can see here more of the inner disturbance of the solar system. This is the magnetic field of the sun as it rotates, blowing out these waves. So there's a great deal of forces, atomic particles, all happening in this great big heliosphere around the sun. So when Planet X enters the solar system, it's got to fight through all that cosmic wind activity. Now that's the only. There's probably many other things happening, many other atomic particles. The Zeta say there are. I think they said there's 1,001 atomic particles, and man is only aware of like 30 or 50 or 100 or something like that. So there's many more particles involved. So here is Planet X creeping through the inner solar system, fighting the massive flows on the ecliptic. Now the ecliptic, to go back to this one here, you see the disks of the orbital plane of all the different planets. This disk, that's commonly referred to as the ecliptic. So Planet X is fighting its way through that. Now I want to go to another one of my drawings. Let me find it here. This one. Okay, so this is Planet X, that's the Sun. This is Earth, this is Venus, and this is Earth's dead twin. This light blue, this light circle here is called what the Zeta cup. The Zeta's called the cup, and that's formed by a very simple principle. When you've got a blockage in a flow, the flow moves around the blockage and creates a back eddy behind it, and that's that's what's happening. Only instead of water or whatever or air, it happens to be cosmic particles, atomic particles from the sun, blown out from the sun. So Earth is caught in this cup with the other two planets. This also means that Earth is stopped in orbit. Now that's another discussion, of course, but we wouldn't be seeing Earth's dead twin to the west if it weren't stopped in orbit. That's all I'm going to say right now. I can argue this and prove it. I already have actually a drawing made up, which will come out in my next newsletter, which pretty much nails it to the wall to anybody who wants to figure it out with me. If you read it and look at at my graphic, it's quite extensively detailed, but you'll see that it proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the Earth is indeed stopped in orbit. Anyways, here it is in the cup, standing in front of Planet X. Now, that means that as Planet X advances in a clockwise movement through around the Sun, clockwise, against Earth and the rest of the planets anti-clockwise movement around the Sun, naturally on December 25th, 2003, Earth encountered Planet X moving from the opposite direction, popping up from the solar system south and into the orbital plane. So Earth had no choice but to stop. So ever since then, as Planet X has been creeping in its clockwise motion through the inner solar system, Earth and all the other planets in this cup have been pushed back. So what that means is that the Earth and Planet X are in a lockstep, and that means that when Planet X advances a mile, Earth retreats a mile. Planet X advances for a few weeks, for 20 miles, Earth in the same period of time backs up the 20 miles. So they're locked into this while Planet X advances, is pushing them back. Also keep in mind that since the Planet X and the planets in the particle flow cup are one unit. They're one unit. They're moving together. So the only other player in this drama is the Sun, and it's really an access point. So you've got Planet X, Earth, Earth's dead twin, and Venus all sitting on a swing together, and the axis and the swing is hung from the Sun. So the Sun only is a backdrop to the drama between Earth and Planet X. So this is why Planet X is always viewed close into the sun because of the angle that has been established between Planet X and Earth and the sun. And that angle has remained more or less the same, which is why we have sightings like this here that I referred to earlier. This is a constant. You always see Planet X here. And the reason for that, as I'm saying, is because we are locked in lockstep with Planet X, and the sun is just an axis point. So it doesn't, for that angle doesn't change very much. The only thing that's going to change is when Planet X speeds up and it achieves a much higher velocity as it leaves our solar system, and that's pole shift time. So that's why we always see Planet X in static positions, relatively static. This is Chris Thomas. Thanks for watching.